Hello, so today I'm going to do a walkthrough through the whole equipment of the tank and show you how I run it. Well, let's start from the top, where we can see the three fixtures. In the middle we have a max spec razor with the auto feeder on top that feeds 4 times per day, and on each side there are two Aquamedic angels, which are for me still today the best lighting fixtures for reef tanks. Period. They combine point lighting like the castles with diffuse blue light. At first I had the impression the diffuse blue light should be stronger. I don't think so much now. I'm really happy with them. The program that I created to run the lights is inspired by David Saxby program, which has this sawtooth pattern, and the objective is supposedly to prevent photoinhibition in corals when there's too much light. Regarding circulation, I have two Jabao CP150. Each of them is overclocked and each of them is able to push over 30,000 liters of water per minute, which is a lot when they are cleaned. The program that they follow is slightly different. They are not completely in sync, they are slightly off sync, and they create two high tides during the day. I must confess I'm not really thrilled to show you what's under the tank because it's not really well organized, but anyways, let's go. So, on the right we can see my RO water container, which is in fact a tank, which holds 135 liters of water. I add kalkwasser. Because the tank has an evaporation of about 5 liters per day, a little bit more during summer, this means that I only have to fill this container about once every 3.5 weeks. On the right, I adapted a shoe rack to hold a lot of equipment. You can see the dosing pump, which has 6 heads. It's an ATI, but in fact is manufactured by Jabao. One of the heads, the one on the right, is dosing the kalkwasser, and the other 5 are dosing trace elements. The 4 bottles of the Red Sea Colors program, and the last bottle, which you can see, the 1.5 liters, as strontium, which is not included in any of the 4 components of the Red Sea program. The effect of the dosing of the kalkwasser can be seen here. It's dosed 24 times per day, and it creates that sawtooth pattern on the pH wave. On top of the shoe rack I have a few controllers. On the left there's the controller for the return pump, which is DCP 10,000 by Jabao. Behind it is the controller with the green light for the skimmer, and right here in front this big controller is for a pump, the QP9, which is now moving water in the first compartment of the sump to prevent debris from settling. And behind it we can see that white equipment. It's a web server for Senai, which is in fact the computer that I use to monitor several parameters in the tank. It monitors temperature, pH, water level, and ammonia. These 2 shelves hold most of the electrical plugs and power supplies, timers. There's also a Wi-Fi timer that allows me to turn on and off an equipment wherever I am. And there's also 2 batteries. One is connected to the return pump and the other is connected to one of the circulation pumps in the tank. So behind all this, in the back of the tank, there's the sump itself. The sump has 3 compartments. From the left to the right there's the refugium, the return pump compartment, and the skimmer compartment. So the water enters the skimmer compartment through a filter sock. I didn't like using filter socks all that much, not because of the work itself, but because I think it captures lots of copepods, amphipods. I try to save them every time I clean the socks. and behind it we can see the skimmer. The skimmer, it's a very unknown brand called WO with an exclamation mark at the end. It's something where I chose not to spend a great deal of money. It was a very cheap skimmer, but it works extremely well, very silent, very controllable. Really happy with it. Let's go and take a look at the refugium. So we can see anemones that are thrown in there, rogue anemones that lived my anemone island, zinnias, Kaito, there are some Ricordias, and there's this little basket where I place carbon, and on the right we can see that I have a divider that I usually add in the middle, but I now have on the right, because what happened is that lots of green algae began growing furiously on this divider, and so by accident I created an ATS, an algae turf scrubber. I have to clean it once per week at least, because it grows really fast, and I noticed that it also invades the chaetomorpha and makes the chaetomorpha less prolific. The middle compartment is where I have the return pump, and you can see also the Senai monitor, which is positioned with the magnet to warn me every time the water level goes below a safe level. And of course it also warns me if there are problems with the pH, ammonia, temperature. It warns me by email and SMS. Behind it we can see the calcium reactor. It's very dark because it has lots of algae inside. I should clean it, but I'm waiting for the time where I really have to open it and put more media. Then I'll clean the whole thing and to look nice again, because it's getting lots of light from the refugium light, which is a Chinese 90-watt LED light, and also sometimes I forget the door open and it doesn't help. I have too much rock in the sump. They are leftovers, and I have been reluctant to take it out and let it die. We can see here one of the heaters. One is in the refugium, the other is in one of the baffles of the sump. There are two Heheim Jäger. They're very reliable, and I prefer to have two, because if there is a malfunction in one of them, it won't be so serious. I don't run this calcium reactor in the way it is normally advised. I simplified it a lot in many ways. To start with, I don't feed it with any kind of pump, not a peristaltic pump or whatever. It's fed by gravity. I have a tube that comes from the overflow, and I have a small sponge to prevent debris from entering, and it flows free. And I just control the number of CO2 bubbles per minute, and I don't measure the pH inside the reactor. Because I thought to myself, why do I need to know what's the pH inside? I only care about what's the KH in the tank, so I measured the KH and I adjusted the number of bubbles per minute, and that was it. I don't think I need to know what's the pH inside that reactor. And it's been working for like that perfectly for almost a year. So no plans to change that. I do have to clean this tube about once per month, which is something that takes me just a couple of minutes. Here on the right, behind the CO2 bottle, I have a UV sterilizer, 55 watt from Jebao, and he returns the water to this basket where I normally place the carbon, which I change every couple of weeks. It's not an ideal installation. One day, if I redo the plumbing in this tank, it's something I'm going to take care of. Next week I'm going to do two changes to the tank, which have to do with two parameters that can vary really quickly in a tank and are extremely important to keep stable: temperature and KH. But that is a subject for another video. Once again, thanks for watching.